All right. Good afternoon, learners. You are welcome to today's lesson. Today we'll be looking at natural sciences, and our lesson is what static electricity. Your presenter is Said Razak. All right. Um, we go straight to our content, and then we are looking at static electricity, but our subtopic is going to be friction and static electricity. So here we are looking at how static electricity is generated here. So our lesson objectives are, by the end of the lesson, you should be able to describe the structure of an atom, define static electricity, explain how a material becomes electrically charged, and also be able to explain the term friction. All right, now let's look at static electricity. But before we go on, we have to look at the structure of the atom because it plays a very big role here. So we are familiar with the structure of the atom from previous grades. All right. So atoms, we are aware that atoms are made up of what? Positively charged protons and neutral neutrons that are tightly packed in the nucleus. The negatively charged electrons are moving freely in a space around the nucleus. We were also told that a neutral atom has an equal number of what? Negatively and positively charged particles. Now, friction between objects causes electrons to move from one object to another. So if you rub your hands, if you rub your palms, you are generating friction. And at the end of the day, what happens is that you have got electrons being moved from one arm to the other. Or if you are rubbing your arm or your dress and another object, basically we have got electrons moving from one to another. The object that gains electrons becomes negatively charged because it has more electrons than protons. Okay, the object that gains electrons become negatively charged because it has got what? More electrons than protons. We go to point 5. The object that loses electrons becomes positively charged because it has got what? Fewer electrons than protons. Okay, point 6. Electrons that are transferred are never created nor what? Destroyed. The number of electrons that one object loses is the same as the number of electrons that other object gains. So for example, if I have an object A and an object B, then object A loses 2 electrons, then the object B will gain the same amount of electrons. There is no situation whereby one object will lose 2, then the second object will gain 3. No, it doesn't work like that. So we have this law of conservation of terms. It can be atoms, it can be energy, it can be matter or whatever. All right, now let's look at question 7. Only insulators can become electrically charged through friction. You remember insulators are what? Materials or substances that do not conduct electricity. So they can be charged through friction. Then the separation of charges is called what? Static friction. Okay, separation of charges is called what? Static friction. All right, now let's go to the next. Now we are going to look at what? Losing and gaining of electrons. You remember we said when we have got one object and another object interacting by way of friction, then we have got what? Loss of electrons. How does that happen? So we're looking at what? Electron transfer. So let's listen. When an object has more electrons than protons, then we say that object is negatively charged. So in simple terms, a negatively charged object is an object that has got what? More electrons than protons. Or we can say is electron sufficient and protons deficient. All right. Then we go to the next point. When an object has fewer electrons than protons overall, then we say the object is positively charged. So what we are simply saying here is that, in another way, a positively charged object is an object that has got more protons than electrons. All right. Now, so let's look at this diagram here. Have a look at the following diagram which illustrates this. Now, the first one, if you count, we have got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negative. And then we have got what? 6 positive. So 6 positive charges and 6 negative charges. When we add them together, we get a 0. So there is 0 overall charge. So that object is neutral. So what is a neutral object? Neutral object is an object in which the number of negative charges equals the number of what? Positive charges. So they are all equal. So just as we are seeing in this diagram, the 6 negatives and 6 protons. So they cancel or neutralize each other. Now let's look at the second one. We have got 8 positive charges and 6 negative charges. So when we add them together, we get what? Positive 2. So the overall charge is 2, meaning the object is positively charged. Why? Because the positive charges are dominating the what? The negative charges. So we say this object, the second object, is positively charged, and the charge is +2. Now, on the other hand, let's look at this. At the third one, we have got 6 positive charges and 9 negative charges. What does that mean? We have more negative charges than positive charges. By how much do we have negative charges than positive? 3. So the overall charge will be what? -3. Okay. So the object is negatively charged. So this is how electrons are transferred. So what happens is that they can be wrapped. So when they wrap, this one will transfer electrons to this, or this one will gain electrons from that. Okay. All right. Now let's look at static electricity again in another form, which is similar to what we just looked at, but we have already explained this again, and I'm going to repeat it. All right. Atoms are made up of what? Tiny particles called protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons are positively charged, and neutrons are what? Neutral, and the electrons are negatively charged. In some atoms, the electrons that are far from the nucleus are not held very tightly by the nucleus. So what it means is that we said electrons move around the nucleus. So if you have electrons that are far away from the nucleus, then the force of attraction between the nucleus and then the electron is not that great. Okay. The positive and the negative charges in an atom balance each other so that the total charge of an atom is neutral. So we are now explaining the same diagram we are just going through. We went through. Friction is a force caused by what? Rubbing things together. As you move to the next grade, you get to know more about friction. But at this our level, friction is caused by what? Rubbing things together. So if I rub my palm, that is friction. If I rub my palm on a table, that is friction. If you are seated on a stool there, that is friction because it's interaction between two things. Now, what happens during friction? During friction, electrons are transferred between what? Objects. The object that gains electrons becomes negatively charged, and the object that loses electrons becomes positively charged. So if I have object A and object B, and they interact by rubbing, so let's say that object A gains electrons. So since object A gains electrons, it means the negative charges are more than the what? The positive charges. so it will become negatively charged. And this one that has transferred the electrons to this one that has gained it will be what? Positively charged, because it has lost electrons. So that is what is happening. So the number of protons will be more than what? The number of what? Electrons. So if the number of protons are more, then it means it's positively charged. Electrons cannot be created or destroyed. They can only be transferred from one place to another. And this is another way of stating law of conservation of what? Energy or matter. Okay. The imbalance that occurs between the negative and positive charges in an atom is called what? Static electricity. So this is another form we are saying. The imbalance means not equal. So you have electrons moving from one atom to the other. So in this atom, you have the protons more than the what? The electrons. Then you have here, you have the electrons more than the positive. So that is an imbalance. Okay. Insulators do not conduct electricity, but they can hold a substantial charge. Substantial charge simply means they can hold a certain amount of quantitative charge. All right. Let's continue. Now, so let's just draw our attention back from what we did in previous grades. So we have got the structure of the atom here. So we say in the nucleus, we have got the what? The proton and then the neutron. So you can see that the protons are the yellow with plus, and then the neutron are zero charge. So they are neutral, as we can see there. So what happens is that it's only the electrons that are surrounding the what? The nucleus that undergoes interaction, or that take part in reactions, or that take part in the transfer. Protons is found in the what? The nucleus. All right, so let's take note. Okay, now we're still continuing with our static electricity. But now listen, wherever you are, if you have a balloon or you don't have one, if you have a pen or if you have a comb, just try to rub it on your dress or wherever on your hair, and try to place it on a piece of paper and see what is going to happen. I guess give you 1 minute or 2 minutes to finish with this activity. Then we will continue with this lesson. It's just a simple activity. So wherever you are listening from, just take the pen or even a comb, rub it on my, I'm even doing mine. I'm rubbing it on my dress. You can also rub it on your hair and see what is going to happen. And if you have a piece of paper, you send it close, or on the ground, it will what? Attract particles. All right. So the next few minutes, all right, you can tell me what you have, what happened to you when you did that. Send your comments on the chat box before we continue. It's a simple activity. Yes, so I'm waiting. All right. Yeah, I can see some of you. Yeah, that's good. The ruler also works. Somebody is saying a balloon even works better. That is correct. All right. Now, so let's go through with these things. So when you blow up the balloon, if you were having a balloon, or you wrap it with a soft cloth, JC, or against your hair. Now, in this our scenario, we didn't have a balloon. Maybe, I don't know, some of you might have one. But if you use a pen or a comb and you rub it, that is friction. So let's see what is observed. The balloon and hair are neutral, which means that they have equal numbers of positive and negative charges. That is before. When the balloon is wrapped against your hair, so if you were having a pen or a comb, when you wrap the pen against your hair, there is what force of friction between the balloon, in this case your pen, and then the hair. The air resists the movement of the balloon. So the friction between them causes the outer electrons of the atoms of their hair to be to transfer to be transferred to the balloon. The positive protons do not move because they are tightly held in the nucleus. Remember, I told you we only have electrons interacting. The hair loses electrons, which causes a positive charge on its surface. It has fewer electrons than protons. So meaning the hair loses electrons. And when it loses electrons, where did it go? It went to the balloon or the pen that you used there. All right. So what you just did, that was what occurred. Now let's continue to the next style. Now what happened is that your pen gained electrons, which cause a negative charge on its surface. So now it has got more electrons than protons. So the number of electrons that the hair lost is equal to the number of electrons that the balloon gained. Okay, in this case, your pen. So both the hair and the balloon are insulated and cannot conduct electricity. The charges remain static on their surfaces. They don't move about. So the negative buildup on the surface of the balloon remains static. Through friction, we can charge materials such as plastic, textiles, glass, nylon, and wood. The separation of charges through friction is called static electricity. Now let's just go back to the other one, the bullet. So we are saying the hair transfer electrons to the pen. Now, what happens is that if you send it close to a particle, it will attract it. Now, so there is a charge dynamic that flows there. So you see that the charge on the pencil or pen, rather, is able to pick up whatever you have done, whatever you send close to it. Okay, so they are saying through friction we can charge other substances. You remember we have got different methods of charging. So it's through friction. We can also talk about induction. Okay. Now let's go on to, so some of you said you have already done that. All right. Now, so it's a kind of revision from the previous grade because you just built up there. So now what I'm going to do, I want you to ask any question, or we go to the activities. The activity we have got multiple choice, and then we also have some easy but very, very short. Okay, so since the multiple choice are about 5, I will just send you to, will move to the next slide so that you will have time to answer them. So try, you will say if one, you write 1. If 1 is A or B or C or D, you write 1A or 1B or 1D. Yes, so since there are 5, you try to do up to 5. Then I will see the one who will get all the 5 marks before we then continue with the two short essay type questions. I hope you get what I'm saying. Let me see if somebody is having a question. Okay. All right. So it's assessment time since you have already done that. Yes, and now in here you said they are subatomic particles. You are correct. Okay. So let's go to our assessment now. So these are the questions. So choose the correct answer and write down only the symbol of the answer. Okay, so you write them and then we'll see. I want to see the one who is going to get total, and then I'm going to promise I'm going to give a surprise to that person who got total. Yeah, but don't be fair. I might surprise you and give you a gift you may not know. Nyati, you do number one, number one the answer, number two answer, number three answer, then we move to number 4 and 5 the answer, so that we are going to mark at the end of the day, so that you will check to see. I said somebody must get total. I'm going to surprise that learner. Even if all of you got total, I will give you a surprise. So yeah, I will be very happy if you will do it in order. Number one, the answer. Number two, the answer. Number three, the answer. Up until number 5, then we will see. But if you give me one, you give me one day, I'm not sure whether you will get to know whether you got all of them right. Okay. Yes, so I'm waiting for your answers. Yeah, keep your answers coming, but do it in a group. I mean, each person, number one, number two, number three, with their answers, so that we will see. I want the one who will get total, and then I will give a package, a surprise. Yes, Inyat, that's yeah, you got me right. That's good. Yeah, I like the way you are doing it. Yes, yeah, you have heard me right. Yes, so I can see some of you are sending me, yeah. Lynn, have you seen yeah two? Lynn, where is your one? Your number one? Yeah, let's say the two. That's good. All right. I'm sure we are all done, so that I move to the next question 4 and 5. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next. All right. There you have question 4 and question 5. So let's keep working. So question 4 is saying, what is a charge of a proton? A, none, B, positive, C, negative, D, either a positive or a negative. Question 5 is saying, which particles have approximately the same size and mass as each other? Do you have A, the neutrons and electrons, B, electrons and protons, C, protons and neutrons, or D, none? they are all very different in size and mass. Which of them? All right. So when you are done again, then you just continue. We have got 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. So after we're gonna do correction, but those ones who will get the multiple choice, 5 out of 5, I said I'm gonna give you a surprise package. All right, let's keep the answers coming. Are you guys winning there? Okay. Then if you are done with the multiple choice, let's go to question 6, 7, and 8, and 9. All right. Let's proceed to question 6, 7, 8, 9. So Lisady, you can proceed to the other questions. Yes, so if all right. So if you are winning, that's very good. I'm very, very happy and impressed. All right. So let's proceed to the rest of the questions. 6, 7, and 8, 9. So question 6 is, how do electrons move from one object to another? Question 7 says, what is static electricity? Question 8 says, what charges move when objects are rubbed against each other? And question 9, what is the electric charge of an object that loses electrons? Okay. So when we are marking, I hope some of you, okay, Mpumi is saying, okay, I'm seeing what it, okay, Mpumi, the question is saying, how do, yes, the electrons are found on the outer shell of the atom, but how do electrons move? How do they move? Those electrons that are on the outer shell of the atom, how do they move from one object to the other? Yeah, so that's, you have an idea, but you have to refine your answer. Okay. The next 1.5 minutes, then we go to the corrections. So you will have to mark, and then I will also check those of you. Most of you are getting it right, but I said if you get all of them, I'm gonna promise you something. Okay. Yeah. Then what about 8 and 9? I can see your answers for 6 and 7, but I'm not seeing 8 and 9. Yeah, Tyrus, I will make a plan. I will make a plan. I will make a plan. So if that person gets total, I will make a plan. Okay, I can see Asanda question answer. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, it's time now for us to go to. I can see number 9. Yeah, I've seen Asanda giving an answer to question 8. I can't even see question 9 yet. All right, you guys are doing well. So let's go to our corrections. Let's go to our corrections. Yes. Yeah. So now, guys, these are your answers. So check the one who got total for me. I'm going to come back to the chat room so that I will see those who got the answers. But if you have the answers here and you are not sure, we can just quickly go back and then we'll explain. All right. So number 1 is B, number 2. So just check your answers to see whether you got total. Let me see. All right. So you can see that we have got who got all the multiple choice correct, who got all of them. All right. Now, so question 6 is saying electrons move from one object to another through friction. Some of you got it right. Nyati, check your question 6, Wena. Please check your question 6, your answer. Then let's look at question 7. It says it's an electrical charge that is caused by the buildup of electric charges on the surface of an what insulator. Yes, some of you are getting the definition right. You are spot on. Then question 8, the answer is what? Negative charges. So I can see some people getting it right there. Asanda, check your answer. Which question number did you give? All right. And then number 9, the object will become what? Positively charged. Okay, I'm waiting for those who got multiple choice, all total. If you remember, if you tell a lie, I can see because I can verify from here. Okay, you got one wrong. Oh, Nyat, that you have done well. All right, keep it up. Okay, Lynn, you also got one wrong. That is 96%. Nyati, Lynn, with that is 96%. Okay, I got 2 wrong. That is, let's say that is 65%, which is still very good. All right. Okay. then my price is still going to remain here. I won't make any plan for the one who got total. But you have done well because 5, you got 4. That is very, very, very impressive. Okay, so let's go to the summary or the next of the slide. Okay, so let's look at the summary. So we have been talking, this topic is not that very technical. So we have been talking about what? Objects that are usually neutral because they have got the same what number of positive and negative charges. So what is a neutral charge? A neutral charge or a neutral object is an object having the same number of positive and negative charges. So we say an object can become negatively or positively charged when rubbed or when there is friction results in the transfer of electrons between objects. Then we say in protons and neutrons cannot be transferred. Why can't they be transferred? Because protons and neutrons are found in the nucleus of the atom. It's only electrons that can be what? Transferred by friction. And the reason why electrons can be transferred by friction is that electrons are found outside the nucleus, so they can easily be dislodged from their comfort zone. Now, we have also seen that if an object has more electrons than protons, then the object is said to be negatively charged. We have also seen that if an object has fewer electrons than protons, then it is what? Positively charged. Okay, so a situation whereby we have got like charges brought closer to each other, what is going to happen is that they will repel each other. So just like if we compare this to magnetism, you remember we said like poles repel each other and like poles attract each other. Similarly, when we're talking of charges, like charges repel each other. So a positive and a positive will repel each other just as negative and negative will do. Okay, and then, but opposite charges attract each other. That is, negative attracts positive and positive attracts negative. Okay, a discharge of electrons from a charged object can cause sparks or shocks of static electricity, especially when the air is dry. Now, because it's winter, sometimes you might find these sparks happening in the night. Okay. All right. So we have been looking at static electricity. Our next lesson will be on what? Transfer in electrical, energy transfer in what? Electrical system. It was nice having you around. So I will give you an opportunity to ask 1 or 2 questions. And if you don't have any question, then yeah, Sunyati is asking who got total. Okay. Thanks very much. God bless you too, Nyati. You have all been wonderful, and then I appreciate and value your contribution and participation. Keep it up, and then see you tomorrow again. Bye, and enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah, stay safe too. Yeah, the coronavirus is real. So guys, be careful, be careful, be careful. Social distance, sanitize, and wear a mask. Please, please, please. Bye.